Oh, hey, we're live. It is I, Mallory, and I'm here to talk to you about all sorts of stuff. I swear, like normally it has like an additional prompt that I don't remember clicking before going live. But hey, here we are. Um, yeah, so let me just get some of the housekeeping done. And get my everyone post up, and then we can get to today's topics. I have two focuses today, and one of them is much more. Let's make sure that's muted. Should be muted. Okay, there we go. I want to talk more about like the art of writing as much as anything else, because we don't talk about that a lot here. But obviously, if we don't have good books that we're proud of, it's kind of hard to advertise them. I can find the E key. Hey, Sithros and Dharma. One thing that's kind of interesting is I forget the exact date, but Facebook is like apparently killing off all of their third-party app integrations soon, like really soon, sometime in April. So I need to kind of dig into that because right now I multi-stream this thing, and it goes to two places on YouTube and two places on Facebook. One of them being our Writing Wives group, and the other one being my profile. And apparently they're getting rid of I need to do a little more research because I don't know. At first I thought they were just getting rid of third-party streaming into groups, but now I've been told they might be getting rid of all third-party apps. So who knows? Oh no, sorry, was just late, Monique. It's not you, it's me. We had our time change already. We did it 2 weeks ago, something like that. Yes, that is exactly right, Dharma. This is exactly what they're doing. If it ain't broke, break them. Like there's companies that are saying that like they're basically just going to go out of business, and they're like multi-million-dollar companies. But yeah, I don't know, Sithros. And the thing that kind of sucks is that Facebook's built-in streaming stuff sucks. So it's not great. That being said, I think. Oh, hi, Gina and Rosa. And Jill and Jen. Hey Jen, long time no see. And Pippa. Oh my God, it's everyone. Where was it? What was I going to say? But I actually think I might have a way around it because I might not be able to stream to my profile anymore, but I can still stream into the group because I use something not for this, but I do use something called OBS, and OBS allows me to take a stream and send it places, and also create like a virtual webcam and camera of the stream, and then send that somewhere else. So I might actually be able to have Facebook think it's like streamed directly to Facebook, even through its own website, using the stream that's already coming from somewhere else. It's a bit of a hodgepodge, but it may work. I guess we'll find out. I might do a test on it before actual D-Day comes. What's my fave latex outfit? This is Jamie asking. It's a little bit off topic, Jamie. What is it? There's really no beating just a straight black latex catsuit. I think it's one of the best looks that there is. Although I really like my rainbow dress as well. I'm not a favorites person generally. Like I don't have favorites of things. I like different things at different times based on different reasons. Like my favorite latex outfit in January and July are very different. It's be the dress in July and the catsuit in January is probably how it's going to go. Yeah, Gina, Jill told me this. She's got more deets than I do, but Facebook is killing third-party app integrations for streaming. So like right now I use StreamYard for this particular stream, and it sends its stream into multiple places, and come some point in April, that's going to go away. Let me look this up. Make sure I get the facts here. Facebook killing third-party streaming. Let's see what I get. Meta cuts off third-party access to Facebook groups, leaving developers and customers in disarray. The recent surprise announcement that Meta will soon be shutting down its Facebook's Groups API is throwing some business social media marketers into dismay. So apparently they just think it's a pain in the ass because of how it replies. It's probably because you can join groups as pages and as people, and managing comments and stuff like that is really difficult. But the weird thing is I can't send comments from this app into Facebook anyway. So yeah, I need to do a little more research into this, but it's going to be a pain. It's actually going to affect people who automate social media posts into groups possibly more than what I'm doing. So that's a whole thing. But anyway, when is it being deprecated? It doesn't say. Okay, well, I guess we'll find out. I'll learn more before our next call, and figure out what the deal is with that, just with how they're making changes to all that stuff. So, but yeah, so I might, who knows, I might not be able to stream to both my profile and the group. That might end up being the outcome of all that. Okay. Oh, that's cool. Is it? How is it? I've heard that it's good. I just haven't heard a lot about that. All right, Cytheros asked a writing question. How do you deal with writer's block? That's actually great, because that's actually one of our topics today is the art of making art. I think that when you have writer's block, I think that 9 times out of 10, I mean, there are scenarios where you're just legitimately burned out, and the well is dry. You pushed it too far or something like that, and you just need to take a break and like refill your creativity. That's one possibility. I think another possibility that is actually more likely in most cases is that sorry, I read Gina's question, I got distracted. I shouldn't do that. The other possibility is that you're not being true to the story, or you're not being true to the characters. You've done something where you've put the characters up and you're trying to force the characters to do something that is actually out of character for them, and they're kind of refusing to do it, and you're having trouble figuring out how to make them do it and make it feel good. Jill the other day said to her that like the way it comes across is the story has to feel real, and if the story doesn't feel real, then she has a problem and she can't go forward. And I really feel like that feeling real thing is that you're just not being true to the characters, and you've got yourself into a corner. There's a variation of that particular problem that I think is based more on you don't know your setting well enough, or you don't know your characters well enough, or both. So you've got this character that you don't quite understand, you don't quite know their motivations, and you've got them in a setting that you don't quite understand, and you don't quite know the motivations. Like maybe you've got a town, and you've really not thought about the town very much, other than there's a kid, and there's their home, and there's a school, and you don't really know that much about the kid, other than maybe they're an underdog, and I don't know, they have a backpack that's too big or something like that, and you're trying to figure out how to get this kid into the woods after school, but they also but during the school day, their friends had come and hang out with me or something like that. This is maybe a bit of a weak example, just sort of spitballing it. But basically, you're trying to get this kid to do something, to go in a direction that the kid shouldn't be going in. And on top of that, you don't know the setting well enough. Like if you knew the setting well enough, you might be like, oh, well, there's woods on the walk home from school or something like that. And granted, a simple scenario like this, most authors can just think of this and figure it out. But sometimes it might be more complex, where you need to get a character to do a multi-step thing, and you just don't actually know your setting well enough for how you're going to get them through the multi-step thing. So sometimes you have to sit and think about your setting, maybe draw a map, maybe just like talk about what the area looks like just write a couple pages describing the town and maybe its history and some notable characters in the town or something like that. And that might give you the inspiration to do that as well. So some options there for you to think about. I'm not sure if you think that applies to the kind of writer's block you have, but I think that usually writer's block falls into one of those couple categories. Yes, you only use Facebook? That actually might be the issue. that if you want to schedule, basically there'll be no way to schedule a third-party post into a group or stream into a group. You'll actually have to do it directly through Facebook, logged in as a person in Facebook. Track me if I move, but the app takes a ton of processing power. Oh, that's interesting. I talked with someone in one of my calls with one of my clients. She might have something like that because the camera follows her around the room. One thing that Google Meet does that I kind of like is it will sort of zoom in on you, and then if you move, it has enough of the frame that it can zoom in on you again. And I think it has to do a little bit of upscaling to pull that off as well. Good morning, Via. How are you today? All right, Delta. I started my current book 3 times, having to scrap. Yeah, that's totally a thing that can happen. I haven't had that happen to, well, I haven't had that happen to me since my first book, because I found that I was actually having some trouble understanding where the characters were and what they were doing. So I actually sat back and spent a lot of time world building. For my universe that I made, I spent 2 solid years world building before I really wrote anything in it. And then I had to, it was broken up by there were 2 1-year sections broken up by a book. That's kind of a complicated answer, but yeah, it was really world building. I really had to understand where my characters were and what they were surrounded by, and that allowed me to get it going a lot more. I always say that, like, when we're writers, really what's going on is we're playing a game of D&D. We're the DM, and we've mapped out this campaign, and we know, like, hey, we got to get these characters to this castle so that they can save the prince, and his dog, and the characters, in this case, we create all the characters. We figure out all the different characters, what their attributes are. But if we don't really figure them out well, and we just sort of are using rough archetypes or something like that, it can be pretty tricky to figure out what they're going to do next. But if you really know your characters and you know the setting, you've done a good job setting up this D&D game, then you just plop the characters in the setting and you say, what are you going to do? And they will still surprise you, which is nice, right? They're like, you're like, go to the Adventurers Guild and get the quest or something like that. And they're like, we're going to the bar. And you're like, really, guys? You go to the bar? And they're like, yes. And they get in a bar fight. But that's okay, because you know the characters and you know how they're going to act in the bar fight. Who's going to stand back? Who's going to go in swinging? Who just is like chatting up some people in the corner while the bar fight's going on? Who wins, who loses, all that stuff. You'll know all that because you know the characters well enough already. And that's actually a great thing to do. Take your characters and lump them together and stick them into some sort of situation where they all have to interact. And you'll learn a lot about them. I oftentimes let my characters sit down for a meal, and I'll just write them doing that. Like, who helps make the meal, who's the cook, who cleans, who puts their feet up on the table and drinks a beer, who leaves early, who gets there late. All that stuff tells me a lot about the characters, and it's a fun exercise to get to know them, and then you can use it for. Mine almost always make it into the book, but if they didn't, I could just use it as like some sort of cool, like, extra thing for my readers. You are very welcome, Sephiros. Oh, you can't see things. I thought it said can at first. I'm like, wait, isn't that the other thing way around? Jill's like that too. Jill can't see things very well in her mind, whereas for me, it's a movie up there all the time. It's always just going. So I like that plan, though, like some sort of way for you to figure out what the scene looks like, and you're going to get ideas coming out of doing that. Yep, that's the thing, right? Yeah, you're not letting the characters just do their thing naturally. You're trying to jam them into it, which means if you knew the setting better, you might be able to come up with a situation based on the existing setting that you could put them into that might get them to do what you want. Or sometimes you just let them run amok for a little bit. They'll be fine. They'll be fine. Most of the time. My new whip still building that world because based on true historic events in the story. That's why I didn't write. This is from Gina. That's why I didn't write. Sorry, I was distracted by Kay's comment. I'll get to that. I thought about writing historical fiction for quite a while because I love history, and I had the same problem where I'm just like, it's going to take too much research, and then I ended up writing hard science fiction, which required me to learn quantum physics to actually write my books, and many other things. So I didn't really save myself any difficulty there, and I ended up I'm actually writing time travel and I'm having to learn a lot of really specific history details as well. My current one is all about the Second Punic War, and there's a pivotal event in the Second Punic War that if it had gone a different way, there would have been no Roman Empire. Roman Empire would never have come to be. Um, so, and this whole thing is like a what if? What if it goes the other way, and the Carthaginians destroy the Romans, and there is no Roman Empire, or it comes about in some other form. Um, yeah, I absolutely agree, Dharma. Totally. Yeah, I had a great call too, Kay. It was really good. And I meant to mention your makeup did look really good in the call as well. So go us. We both did it. I appreciate that though. So I don't write historical romance. Yeah, the historical, I swear, like you could write, I don't know, you could write all sorts of things. And I feel like the regular history nerds would throw you more slack than the historical romance readers. Those people are vicious, because they'll be like, you just use this word and this word didn't exist back then. And I'm thinking to myself, well, half the words I'm using didn't exist back then. That's one thing. This is sort of a funny side note, but I always thought it was funny with when Kevin Costner's Robin Hood movie came out. A lot of people complained that he didn't speak with an English accent, and I'm thinking, wait, didn't the story take place like during the Third Crusade? So wouldn't the nobility have been speaking French because that was after the Norman invasion? and the regular folk would have been speaking probably some like version of Saxon mixed with Celtic, because English hadn't fully come about yet. It would have been like old English, So there'd be no English accent or anything. So I always thought that was a funny side note. Hysterical romance. That's pretty good. Love Ancient Rome, written that plus writing Civil War. That is, oh man, yeah, that's rough. Those are two awesome interests, though, Gina. Shows it's not just the men that are always thinking of the Roman Empire. There's some ladies thinking about the Roman Empire too. I love it. So yeah, we've kind of like already wandered off into the main topic, which that's awesome that the questions took us there, or the comments, I should say, took us there. This came up yesterday in our mastermind that we do, and obviously I don't have enough time to get into the whole conversation here, but we got talking about how when you're an author, you're a small business person, but you're two very different sides of the business. And actually, this happens a lot in small businesses. This is not something that's just unique to authors. We have to both be the creative force, creating product and doing market research and figuring out how to write. Well, it's almost like three things. There's a product manager that has to do the market research and think about how to create the product. And then there's the creative person who actually has to make the thing. And then there's the marketer who has to market the thing. And the problem is that two of those roles, for many of us, the person who does all the market research to write the right thing for the right people, to get the book to sell, and the marketer who then ends up selling it, those things tend to kill creativity in many cases, and or people just creative types just hate doing them. Some creative types, like myself, do love doing both things, but even for me, I can't do both at the same time. I have to write first in the day. If I don't write first thing in the morning, I won't write throughout the day, because most of my day is filled up with like more administrative advertising types of tasks. But on top of that, you also have to really like, when you're writing, a lot of times we end up with all these other voices in our heads, comments on reviews, on ads, reviews, things that people have emailed to us, what we think the current trends are and stuff like that. Am I doing the right thing with these characters? Am I, displaying this trope correctly? And to be honest, really, all of that is a distraction. And when it's you with your keyboard banging out a story, like I said very earlier on, all it really matters is, do you have a solid, believable setting, and are your characters remaining in character within that setting? If you're doing that, then you're telling a real story, and a real story is what's going to attract people. It's only when you start forcing your characters, out of who they are, that you end up with something that feels thin and doesn't feel like it's a complete story and has those problems. So in a way, we have to kind of trust ourselves that if we've sort of like set up a framework, we've created the setting, and we've created characters that we think are going to serve the tropes that we're writing to well enough, then we have to sort of just trust ourselves when we're writing to just get the story down and do the thing. And then when we're going through edits, we might say like, hey, if I added in this little element here, that could actually really help serve this trope or expose it well to the reader or something like that. But when we're getting that first draft down, we really shouldn't be thinking about that stuff. It should just all be about getting the story, laid out and true to itself and our characters. But then likewise, a lot of times when we're doing our marketing, we bring all of the self-doubt of the author into our marketing. And that's a problem too, because, often it's impossible for us not to have self-doubt as authors. Self-doubt. I keep saying self-doubt, because we're human and we know that we're fallible and we've seen what our editors send back, right? So we know there are mistakes made. Mistakes have been made is sort of like the thing that we all know, the mantra we have. And sometimes when it comes to, and we get our alpha or beta reader feedback or, whatever it might be. And when we're marketing the book, we're doubting ourselves. We're doubting that we can actually do the story justice, or that we've made some sort of mistake, or that this is the book where everyone's going to figure out that you're a fraud and you're just making it all up. But the funny thing is, that's literally what we're doing. We're just making it all up. And chances are that if you've been able to get a couple books published and you've got some readers coming in, you know how to tell a story. And the only way you can really screw it up is by not being true to yourself as a writer and not being true to, the characters that you've created and where you've put them. That's how you'll screw it up. There's really no other way. Provided you got a good editor that's going to catch all your repeated words and the fact that you use off of instead of off and stuff like that. Actually, American readers won't care if you say off of, but boy, the Brits get grouchy about that. I like that. I like that way of saying that. Every story is a new creative adventure into unfamiliar territory. It absolutely is. Yeah. And like enjoy that adventure. One of the things that our society these days has done a lot of is we're very focused on the reward at the end, the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. And a lot of this has been sort of like done to us in a way, but we've also done it to ourselves a lot. And I think it's also human nature. We get dopamine hits from doing a thing and then getting the reward. We kind of can get addicted to that do the thing, get the reward, do the thing, get the reward. And we forget that the journey itself is actually, in many cases, the best reward that there is. It's actually one of the reasons why I like growing plants. When you're growing plants, it's a whole journey. It's choosing your seeds, it's preparing your soil, it's seeing those first sprouts coming up, it's transplanting them, it's nurturing them, and taking like a tiny speck of something, dirt and water, and turning it into food or something beautiful. And that journey is to be honest, that journey is the biggest reward, because if it comes down to like dollars to donuts, it's far cheaper for you to go to the grocery store and buy food. You have to put years of effort into making a garden that actually becomes cost effective after a while. So really, you're much better off just buying food from a cost effective standpoint. Growing your own food is more about possibly nutrition and making sure that you're getting heirloom seeds and whatnot and high quality plants. But also it's about the journey. It's about the enjoying making something, helping something grow, and sort of the reflective time you get when you're caring for the plants. And I feel like that is really important for doing, for writing, that for us, really, it is the journey. It's the nurturing the story. It's the characters along the way. The end is, well, it's exhilarating and fun, just like doing a big harvest haul in your garden is exhilarating and fun. It's literally the fruits of your labors. It's only good if you actually took the time getting there and doing a good job getting there. Otherwise, it'll ring hollow. So I think that it's always good to take a step back and think less about getting the book done and more about, am I enjoying the story that I'm writing? Because I also feel that if we enjoy writing the story and have a good time doing it, it comes through to the readers. And if you're having a miserable time writing a story and you're bored with a part of it, chances are your readers aren't going to have a great time in that part of the story either. So it's totally, realistic that's how it is. So I just kind of want to share that, and maybe a lot of you guys you oftentimes live in this craft world, but I talk so much about marketing and focus so much on marketing. I thought it was like, it's good to actually talk about the fact that there is no business side of this if we don't get the writing side done properly first. So this is just commenting back on having, let me see if I can pronounce it right. Where is it here? It's like aphasia. Oh, I can't find it. Aphantasia. Aphantasia? Or aphantasia. I actually have a bit of a hard time recognizing people too, but I don't have that. I can imagine things really well. I think the times when I have the most trouble recognizing people is when I go to writers' conferences and online everybody had pictures of books, and then suddenly they're real people and I can't connect. If they just say their first name, I don't make a connection to first name, last name. Like, actually, like, I know Dharma well enough that I would obviously recognize Dharma, and if she said, "Hi, it's Dharma," I would know. But if someone came up to me and they're just like, "Hey, it's John," we know each other on Facebook, I'll be thinking, John who? But if they say their first name, last name, I'll be like, oh yeah. And like, their profile comes up in my mind. Like, I see their profile in my mind, which is probably something you can't do with aphantasia. But yeah, I do have that problem, but it's obviously a different thing entirely than that. So one thing that we are doing that also I want to talk about is tomorrow I have a class on running ads for Shopify, and it's an advanced class on this, and it's going to be in many ways like my normal advanced ads class. We're talking a lot of advanced strategies for analyzing ads and audience building, and we'll talk about some advanced creative strategies as well. But it's all with a focus of driving direct sales ads. And then in a couple of weeks, we're doing the second part of the class, which is going to be on how to set up everything on the Shopify side to actually have all that post-sale touch points with readers and like abandoned cart, lost cart, flows to pull them into the next series, welcome flows, all that sort of stuff that needs to be done in a Shopify site that Facebook normally does for us. So that'll be the future class in a couple of weeks, and the class is happening tomorrow. Is going to be on the Facebook side of things and how to build ads for direct sales. And it is going to be recorded. So if you can't make the class tomorrow, it runs between 4 p.m. and 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. If you can't make it, there will be a recording that you'll get. And you can also always send in questions early you can send them into Jill. If you're not going to make it to the recorded session, I'll make sure I answer those during the Q&A. I think it's going to be great for folks who are looking to kind of just get started on this, or you've run ads to the traffic ads to the retailers, but you've never run to Shopify and you're not sure about some of the differences, and maybe you want a refresher in some of the latest tactics. It will probably also be a class I'm going to be talking about a lot of the things that I've learned this year since Facebook made a pretty big change to be much more AI driven in their targeting than they used to be as well. So there'll be a bunch of that stuff that will be in there too. The class for tomorrow will work, yes. If you're obviously the one in a couple of weeks will be very Shopify only focused, but tomorrow, as long as you're doing your own direct sales, WooCommerce, Square, Wix, Shopify, what have you, yeah, it'll work for any of those. There might be some nuances here and there, but I would say like 99% of the content will work regardless of what you're using for your direct sales store. I often use Dharma. Oh, and there's a big discount. We're having like a last 24-hour sale, even though it's a little bit more than 24 hours. So if you message Jill, I think she has the class for only $97. You can get in on it at that discounted price. So it's just find Jill on Facebook or email her at jill@thewritingwives.com. That's thewritingwives.com. JILL. Dharma says, I've been going back to my first thriller, prepping it for recording audio. I can still feel myself tense through the exciting parts. Oh, that's awesome. That's, I've had that too, reading through some of my stuff. I'm like, oh, this is exciting. When I'm reading it, I'm like, okay, good. I did it properly. I got this thing done. I actually plan at some point on going back through all my books and touching some things up and whatnot. There's going to come a time where I'm going to take all of my books and I'm going to release them in one giant sequential series. And I think when I do that, I'll probably reread everything and touch some stuff up as well. Yes, yeah, everything that we're talking about in the class tomorrow will work if you are using Shopify. absolutely. Unless that you're referring to as something else entirely. Uh, that's probably true. Gina says, and there'll be another one later. I'm sure I'll do this again. So if you're not ready to actually dip your toes into the direct sales waters today, then it'll be something that will come back around again. And actually, the direct sales stuff may also work for Kickstarter if you're interested in actually running ads to a Kickstarter. A number of the things that we're doing in this class will also apply to Kickstarter too. So that'll be a good thing. All right, I've gone through everything I want to chat about today. It's kind of I've been efficient. I like it. Do anyone have any questions? Anything that is on their mind or that they're curious about or they've heard talk about? I'd be happy to answer that. But if not, I shall disperse off into ether because I have my ad team meeting in 15 minutes. I want to make sure I'm ready for that. There's 5 of us now who are on our ad team. So we have a meeting every Thursday where we go over clients. We talk about wins, things we're having trouble with, what we've learned, and stuff like that. It's something that's pretty awesome because we get the knowledge of 5 people who are working on ads a lot of the week. None of them quite as much as me. I'm like easily 40 hours a week in ads, but everybody else is at least 20 hours, I would say, at this point. Maybe 10 for some of the new folks. But it's pretty cool. It's a fun meeting. All right. Well, I will have a fantastic day, Jen. Nice to see you. All right. Going once, going twice. Actually, I'm finding that a lot of people are having a dip lately, but more on traffic ads. They're not getting as many reads off of the retailers towards the end of March here for some reason that they normally would. And there's a lot of reporting errors coming up in the attribution system that makes me think Amazon's having a host of reporting issues right now. For most people that I'm working with, they're doing direct sales. Things are actually going pretty good. So yeah, I think it's on average a pretty good time. I think that one of the things getting a lot of people is ad cost is up a bit right now, but it should dip next month. It oftentimes does once we get past Easter. We should see a bit of a dip in the CPCs, and that should make ads a little more profitable. So for those folks who are a little bit less in control of their destiny using the retailers, that should happen. But obviously, when you're doing direct sales, you have a lot more. You basically get feedback within a day whether or not things are working, which makes life a lot easier. So anyway, I will see you guys later. I hope you all have an absolutely fabulous day and an excellent weekend and a great Easter. And we shall see you next Thursday. Same bat time, same bat channel. Ciao.